spending some time with friends and family, and hopefully you're able to spend a little time relaxing and resting, and but also maybe catching up on a few webinars and trainings here, getting ready for this week here. And Marion says, haha, day off. Yeah, Marion and the Power Rangers mentor group, they're not taking a day off. I think I stepped away for a little bit earlier, and it said like 175 messages. Right now it says 92 since then. They are going crazy all day and night here, replaying some stuff and sharing charts, and they're just going crazy in that mentor room. So slave drivers over there. Let's see here. Lauren, you said you're having some trouble when you updated the indicators. Will that be resolved soon? Should we not update yet? You should be good to go, Lauren. I'm not sure what issues you were having. Several other people here have said that they downloaded the new update. You should be good to go. Try it again. Just make sure that when you update, big key here, guys, make sure when you update your Apex toolkit, make sure that NinjaTrader is closed down. Okay, you want to close NinjaTrader, update your toolkit, and then reopen NinjaTrader. If you're having any issues there, Lauren, send in a help desk ticket. And keep in mind that, you know, when you open a new chart, okay, you know, order prints does not start printing, you know, like let's say that you didn't open your chart. Say you had your charts open Friday, and you haven't opened your charts yet today, and you go to open your charts, you're not going to see clusters. I mean, this is not a C's template, but you're not going to see clusters and order prints on here for the time that you didn't have your chart open. You might see them historically back, you know, from when you had them open before, but for the time frame that your charts were shut down, okay, you're not going to see clusters on there, okay? So keep that in mind, because, you know, your charts have to be open live to see those things. Does that make sense, Eugene? Okay. Now on replay, if you go and do replay, yeah, you'll be able to see it. But also keep in mind for today, being Labor Day, notice here, there's not a whole lot going on in the market. Okay, so you might not actually see a whole lot of clusters or block orders. You know what I mean? So, you know, you might not see much of anything today. Okay, so if you're having troubles with that, just you know, send in a help desk ticket. But as far as anything from today, just keep in mind it's Labor Day. You're not going to see a whole lot in the market. You know, whether it's block orders, clusters, mini magnets. So if you're talking about from today, Eugene, I would expect that. Okay, if your replay is not working previous days like last week, that's a different story. Send in a ticket, but I wouldn't expect to see a whole lot today on Labor Day. There's not going to be a ton of volume in there. You know what I mean? To get clusters and block orders, and sometimes even those mini magnets leaving business down there, you're going to need some movement and volume. It's just not going to be there today. Make sense? Okay, well, good. So not going to keep you long today like I have been keeping you. So I want to be able to I want to get this new indicator out to you, let you get back to spending time with friends and family, and give you a little time to play with it here. I'm just going to kind of give you the basics today of what it is and how to get it on your charts. And then we're going to let you just kind of play with it for a couple of days. And then we're going to come back on Thursday and do a little bit of an advanced training. That way you get a couple of days to get a feel of it. Again, if you go to the webinar calendar here, you see I've got us booked out this week, all kind of stuff. And right here on Thursday afternoon, we've got an advanced training for the oscillation detector. Okay, so as usual, don't want to overload you with too much in the beginning. Want to give it to you in stages here so you can get a good handle on it. All right, so we're going to try to not keep you too long here. All right, so the oscillation detector. Let me pull over a chart here. First of all, we've released a new Apex toolkit that has the oscillation detector in it and has a new template. So the first thing that you have to do is update your toolkit, okay? And if any of you are not familiar with how to update your toolkit, or you don't remember how to do that, if you go right here under Elite Education and you go to Getting Started and Set Up with Apex and NinjaTrader, okay, this was the step-by-step course that walked you through setting up Ninja. And right here, Module 4, Unit 2, installing and updating the Apex toolkit. So if you just simply update your toolkit, you'll have the new indicator and the new template. So let's just jump right in. I've got a blank chart open right here, okay? And I'm going to right-click on Indicators, and I'm going to scroll down to right here, Apex Diagnostic Oscillation Detector, and I'm going to double-click that and add it on, okay? Don't mess or worry about messing with any of these settings over here or all that, okay? You're good to go for now with the settings, okay? You don't want to mess with any of those, and we'll get into it here. I'm also going to add on VAD, okay? I'm going to add VAD just so I can kind of show you the differences here and show you how this works. Give me just 1 second. All right, let's open this chart here. Okay, so this is the oscillation detector. Okay, I've kind of got a blank chart here so you can kind of see what it is. And obviously you see VAD down here. Okay, now what is the oscillation detector? Well, it's very similar to VAD. Okay, it's just a different way of reading volume compared to VAD. All right, and as you notice here, you've got numbers. With VAD, you know, there's numbers over here off to the side, right? Okay, and wherever these, you know, histograms kind of pop up here, you see the numbers off to the side and so on. It's just a little bit different way of reading volume, and some people, you know, like to see those numbers, all right, instead of just bars, okay? But it's a little bit different, and if you notice here, let me get these, if you notice here, it draws a line from where it's measuring, okay? Draws a line from where it's measuring. Now, I'm going to go over all the colors with you and all that here in a minute when we go through the forum post. I just want to give you a quick overview here of kind of what you're looking at before we go through the forum post. All right, and notice it draws a line from where it's measuring. All right, and the oscillation detector, it measures from high to low or low to high. You see that? It draws points for you from where it measures, and it gives you a number, okay? Now, VAD doesn't measure from high to low. It measures from bar close, all right? So you'll get a little bit different readings on the oscillation detector than you will on VAD sometimes, okay? And that's a good thing. I'm going to show you here. This is just a different way to see volume. The other thing that happens is, for example, VAD resets with every bar. Okay, like see here, we got a down closed bar, we got down closed VAD. Then right here we have an elevator. See, we have an up closed bar and you've got an up closed VAD. And then when this bar closes back down again, what happens? VAD resets, right? And starts building again. It doesn't keep building. All right, so VAD resets with an elevator bar. Does that make sense? Everybody understand what I mean by that? Okay, well, the oscillation detector, it ignores one bar elevators. Okay, so for example, in this downtrend right here, VAD comes down and then it shows us the elevator bar. And then VAD starts to rebuild again and comes down. As to where the oscillation detector measured from here to here, all one long trend and gave us the number. Okay, so that's kind of the difference there between VAD and the oscillation detector. So it's measuring the same thing. It's measuring the volume in a trend. It's just measuring it from a different point, and it's ignoring the elevators. Okay, so it doesn't back paint. You can scroll back. You don't have to do market replay on it to be able to see the numbers. You can just add the numbers on and you can see them. But it also really just helps put things in a different perspective. I mean, like here, for example, so we see the market comes up on quite a bit of VAD. We see it pulls down and it goes back up a little higher on less volume. That's clear on VAD, right? But how much? Like, you know, it's really nice to be able to see, okay, there was 21,000 there, and it pulled back on 4,039 contracts, and it comes up here on 12,000. Okay, so some people really like to visually see the numbers. Okay, and it's very, very helpful to see those. Okay, now sometimes VAD will show a little bit different result than the oscillation detector. Okay, sometimes it'll seem like the numbers don't match up, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Okay, and we'll get into this a little bit, but notice these yellow numbers here. Okay, we'll get into the colors in a little bit, but notice the yellow numbers. All right, those are one of the biggest things that I use the oscillation detector for. The yellow numbers are what's called a double top or double bottom. All right, basically when the market is coming into a range, it's not to the tick, but it's like, notice here, this was the previous low, previous bottom. Basically, as the market's coming down, when it gets in a range from like, say, here to here, all right, it's considered that it's in the double bottom range, all right, and this number will turn yellow or orange, okay, depending on how it looks on your chart there. And just giving you a heads up, hey, we're coming into a double top or double bottom zone. All right, now, I told you not to mess with the settings, but there is one setting that you can mess with. On the oscillation detector, right here, alerts, enable voice, you can change that to true. Okay, you can change that to true. And what that will do is you'll get a heads up audio alert saying double bottom on NQ or double top on NQ. Okay, and if you also, let me just clarify here, if you enable the audio to true, you want to also, right here, filter alerts, set that to true. Okay, otherwise your alerts will keep going off. Hey, it's in double top range, double top range. So if you enable this to true, you want to enable this to true to get the audio alerts. Okay, so how is that helpful? How is it helpful to know when the market might be in a double top type situation or a double bottom type situation? Well, let's think about this for a minute here. Let's hop on over here to the Apex site. And Chip, there you go. Chip and Dinesh both just said it. Let's take a peek here. And let's go to the ultimate power plays. All right. And let's just take a look here at something. What do you think is happening when the market comes up here and then pulls back, and then as it's getting back up into this area, is it making a double top? Yeah. So what would you maybe have right there? An alert, right? What about right here when the market's coming down into this area, makes a low, pulls up, and then as it's getting back down into this area, what kind of alert would you have? Hey, double bottom on NQ. So we already have talked about, hey, a very mechanical way to trade the power plays is that you have what audio alerts on? The clusters, right? You have your cluster audio alert on, and when you hear the audio alert go off, you pull up this chart, you look first of all at the market condition to determine what type of trade it is. You look and check to see if you're close to a level, if there had been chop, and you look for your setup, right? We've talked about that. Have you guys found that very useful, those cluster alerts? Hey, I've got a cluster alert. Let me pay attention to this chart. Let me pull that chart up and dig in deep and check the condition and check what's around it. Well, in this particular example right here, what bar did the cluster show up on? Yeah, Joe, it's very useful, right? On this particular example, and we know the clusters can show up here or here or here, but on this particular example, the cluster showed up on the setup bar, didn't it? How nice would it have been to maybe get an alert right in here? Double bottom on NQ. And it gives you a little bit more time to pull up that chart, look at it and say, okay, right here, I got an alert letting me know the market's coming into a double bottom situation, because that gives me the rest of this bar and all of this bar to really look it over. You get more heads up. Okay, I mean, we normally have plenty of time just with the cluster alerts, right? But do you see how this would give you even more time now? Oh, heads up, we're coming into a double bottom situation. All right, so let me take a peek at this chart. And what's going on? Are we super strong trending, so I need to look for number threes? No. Are we tight coil chop and all that, so I need to look for number four? No. So this is a one or two. So right now, the market's right here. It has not quite reached this point just yet. I see that volume is much lower. So is this setting up to be a P1 or a P2? Well, right now it's looking like, you know, it might be a P1. Let's wait and see. Or does it go, you know, like sometimes you don't know yet, right? You got to see what is volume doing, or, you know, where's the market going to go? But right now we're seeing that the volume's not exceeding the previous volume, so it's not setting up for a P2. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm looking for a P1 here, and let's look and see, because I got my heads up right here. So I'm watching that bar. Okay, boom. All right, it went a little further on less volume. Great. This is looking like a good P1 trade. Everything's lining up. I've got the rules there. I've got VAD. I've got a level. I had some chop. But what am I missing? Well, I'm missing a cluster. So now this bar is forming. Okay, looks like the market is starting to come up. Ah, I got a cluster, and I'm ready. So do you see right there? I mean, it's already totally cool how the cluster alert gives you that heads up. But do you see how in this example, you would have gotten that heads up almost 2 bars earlier, to have a few more seconds, a few more minutes to look over this, verify your rules, get ready to go and get your entry ready. If you're a binary or spread trader, you had a few more minutes to look at the scanner and pick the right spread or the right binary. Is that totally cool? Can you see that, guys? How just that aspect right there of the double top or double bottoms audio alerts are super helpful, okay? Because they'll give you a heads up as it's getting into that zone. Now, it does not mean that you'll always get a double top or double bottom alert for a setup. Like there could be at times where you have a power play 2 that didn't quite reach the double top or double bottom area, okay? So it doesn't mean it'll always happen. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's see here. Chuck, isn't the lower low less volume because the second downtrend is shorter than the previous? Chuck, I'm not sure your question there. Isn't the lower low on less volume because the second downtrend is shorter than the previous? Well, what you have to realize in this screenshot right here, this was a downtrend, yes. And this is a shorter downtrend than this downtrend. But in this example, like we kind of talked about in training, what do you have all right here? You got ridiculous chop, right? You got ridiculous chop on all these bars, then you got chop on this bar, you got chop on this bar, and the market tried to push down. All that chop right there kind of negated that trend, as it were. Chuck, if that makes sense. That doesn't make this count as a just little retrace in a trend and keep going. Does that make sense? Can you see all this? I mean, look at that bar, super choppy. This bar, super choppy. That was a reversal bar. This bar, super choppy. That bar choppy. That bar choppy. That bar choppy. That kind of makes sense? Look at the difference here if we go down to a number 3, which is all about a trend. Do you kind of see the difference there? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Does that make sense? Okay, or this one here, you know, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. The big difference of that choppiness like that. Okay, but now let's look at something else here. So you guys see how, does that make sense, Chuck? Chuck says, finally, I get it. Okay, do you see that? Chuck, I'm going to show you a couple other examples here in just a second. Okay, that will actually help you a little bit more. Okay, and you guys are going to see a couple other ways where this oscillation detector can help you. So, do you see just in that quick example how this can help you when you see double tops or double bottoms, how it will help you look for number one and number twos? Okay, it's not going to help you look for number fours, okay, because we're not looking for that in chop. In fact, we'll talk about this some in a minute. Because this oscillation detector, okay, you can't use it in chop because it won't print unless there's two bars. It needs two bars to be a trend, as it were, okay, and it needs to have two bars and then go a little further to plot. All right, so when it comes into chop, it's going to kind of pause on printing so it knows which way to print. That way it doesn't do any back painting, okay. Lindsay says, double top, a cluster, an apex E, a major level, good setup. Absolutely, looking to combine all those things. So we see how those double tops and double bottom alerts really help you to look for one and twos. Now, there are times where they might actually help you with number threes as well. Not every time, like see on this one here, market came up, pulled down, came up, it pulled down on more volume, but it didn't get down here to a level where it would have, you know, signaled a double bottom, right? But for example, this one, it got all the way up in here. That might have signaled a double top alert as well. Okay, so they will help you with one, twos, and threes. Probably the most with one and twos, but a lot of times threes as well. So they're just another heads up of, hey, a possible potential trade. Hey, the market's getting back up close to a level it was before. And as you see, it can sometimes be a quicker heads up than the what do you call it? Than the clusters, which just gives you more time, right? So very, very cool there that it gives you more time. Okay. Let me show you another quick example here, and we're going to get into. Let me pull up a different chart here. So let's take a look here. Okay. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, and we're going to talk about this in advanced training some. So where is this kind of helpful? All right, I mean, you can see that, okay, it's helpful, it's cool to see the numbers. Okay, it's helpful to see the audio alerts for the double tops. Okay, yeah, we need to check that out, Marion. Okay, we know that VAD resets with what? Every elevator, right? So on this push down here, we've got a little bit of VAD here, then we've got a 1 bar VAD here, we've got a little bit more VAD here, and then this final push down looks like it's on less VAD, right? Everybody agree with that? This final push down would look like less VAD because technically it is from here to here. So we kind of look at it like, okay, that last push down was on less VAD, so I made a lower low on less volume. So maybe I want to take this up close bar as a setup number 1. And if you did, you know, you might have got 10 ticks out of it or whatever. But again, we know that VAD resets with all these elevator bars, correct? So what difference do we see looking at this particular setup with the oscillation detector? This push down was how much? 10K. This push down from high to low, because also remember, this measures high to low, VAD is looking at each bar close, was how much? 18K. So this last push down overall had what? More volume than the last push down. just using VAD, we might look at this as a last push down of little volume. Okay, maybe this is not the most perfect example to give you, but do you see what I'm trying to talk? You see the difference there, where it shows you a little bit different picture, to where maybe you would want to wait for this last push down that went a little further on lower volume and lower volume and made a what? Double bottom. Maybe you would have waited to take your P1 there. And do you see how that might have helped you a little bit there? Does that make sense? Just what I showed you right there in that screenshot. Yeah, Joe, exactly. So it's not better than VAD. VAD is not better than OD. They're a different way to view what's going on. Okay, if you've noticed, we're very big on that at Apex. We want you to look at the market from different angles. What are we doing? What's the market doing with levels? What's the market doing with chop? Let's talk about volume. We've got our expected volume indicators. We've got expected ranges. We've got VAD that's measuring volume a certain way. We've got OD that's measuring another way. You've got order prints to see what's inside the bar. Okay, OD stands for Oscillation Detector, Eugene, okay? Oscillation Detector. So OP is order prints. OD, if you hear it called that, is Oscillation Detector, okay? Sorry about that if I confused anyone. But we just want to give you different ways to view what's going on in the market so that you have the best information possible to make the decision you need to make, okay? And so there's, you know, what you'd like to see is, hey, VAD and OD are matching up. They're telling me the same thing. They're painting me the same picture, right? You'd like to see that, okay? But sometimes you'll see that they paint a little bit different picture, okay? And if they paint a different picture, like right here maybe, does it make sense why it's painting a different picture? And just what I've taught you in the last 3 minutes, can all of you see why it painted a different picture for us there? Because of the elevators. You see that? So in that case, you might say, well, I want VAD and OD to agree to take a trade. Or if they don't agree, I want it to make sense why. So maybe I didn't take that P1 right there, you know, or maybe I didn't take a trade right there. Maybe I waited till, okay, here they both agreed and both made sense. Everything lined up a little better. I understand it, and I took it. Now, if there's times where they don't agree and you can't really see why, then maybe you stay out. And what it could be is that, remember I explained to you that VAD calculates from bar close, right? Oscillation detector goes from high to low. So let's say, for example, there was a lot of volume in the wick of this bar right here. Does that make sense? Let's say there was a lot of volume in the wick of this bar. Okay? Well, oscillation detector, okay, is going to put that volume where? In the high to low reading of this down move, as to where VAD might put it in the, like one may put it in the down move, the other may put it in the up move. Does that make sense? Christopher said, aha. Does that make sense there? Okay, where because they calculate from different areas, one might put it in the down move, whereas the other might put it in the up close bar. So if that's the case and they're just not matching up and they're conflicting and you can't make clear sense of it, of, hey, they're conflicting because of elevators, then maybe you stay out, right? Maybe you stay out and let it work its way out. Does that make sense? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that on Thursday with some advanced training. Okay? So in a nutshell, that's the oscillation detector. That's how you can add it on to a chart. Okay, if you have a blank chart or any chart you want to add it on to, you can add it right on. And to enable the audio, you change that to true, and you change this to true. Okay, if you want it on a template, yep, David, when in doubt, stay out. If you want it on a template, okay, that's already made for you here. Okay, you go to File, New Chart, and let's just, for example, open up NQ. Okay, and let's go to templates. And you're already all very familiar with what? C's OP, right? That's what you're using for power plays. Or just like the charts in the room, or the simple one, we got C's OP simple. Or now what do we have? C's OP with OD. Say that 5 times real fast. All right, so that's your existing power play template with OD oscillation detector added onto it. Okay? Yeah, it'll work with any of them. Okay. And so you can load that template right up. It's in there available for you right now in the new toolkit. You see it? You've got your regular C's OP power play template, and you've got the numbers on there. Okay. Now, do you notice something different about the two charts? See these blue numbers, and now you see black and white numbers. Okay, we're going to talk about that here in just a second. So you do have the template there for you. It's in the new toolkit. Again, if you right-click, go to Indicators, and you come down here and you find Oscillation Detector. Okay, in the template, everything is defaulted to true already for the audio alerts. You see that? So the audio alerts are turned on for you in the template. If you're just using the standalone indicator, you'll have to turn them on. That makes sense? Everybody see that? So it's all done for you. The settings are done, colors are done, the alerts are on there for the template's made. Everybody got that? Everybody see where to get the indicator and where to get the template. Any questions on template or indicator loading? Okay, perfect. Hey, Mike, how you doing? But yes, Joe, you do have to update the toolkit because we released a new toolkit that added in the oscillator and added in the new template. So you'll have to upgrade your toolkit. Okay. All right. Can the OD be added to the Elite Room charts? Anthony, we're going to play with that. I'm not sure if we're going to do that or not because we have to test it because we have to make sure that the charts in the Elite Room don't get too cluttered to where people can, actually utilize them to trade. Okay, we're gonna test it. All right, and if we can, then we'll get it on there. But we got to test and see. The more we put on a chart, the more it gets harder to read. I mean, just on this big chart here, my full screen, that's a lot to read. Now, squash 10 other charts on that camera. You know what I mean? So we have to play with some of that. Okay. All right. So, yep, John, NT8 toolkit is being worked on and is in the pipeline. Our full staff programmers are hard at work on it. Okay, so that is the oscillator in a nutshell. Now, let's go through the forum post. All right, there's a complete post about it. I want you to see this and give you a few other examples here. So the oscillation detector is not a system. It's not a strategy. It's an indicator. Okay, so if you go to the Apex forum and you scroll down, as you've seen, the forum is in sections. S1, section 1, S2, section 2. S6 is what? Apex indicators. All our different indicators are in here, and right here you've got oscillation detector. So if you want to look up information about the oscillation detector, it's not in the power play section. It's not in the systems section. It's in the indicator section. Make sense? Okay. So let's just go through this together here. And you know most of this already, but oscillation detector is an indicator that measures the volume in a trend, and it paints the numbers near the bar on the main part of the chart. It's used much like VAD-A is used. The volume in the oscillation detector measures it a bit differently than VAD does, therefore the results will not be the same. The oscillation detector ignores single bar elevators in the trend measurement and measures from the lowest point to the highest point of the trend. Okay, just like we talked about, right? From low to high, not from bar close. Okay. If there are 2 or more bars, the trend count restarts. When chop occurs, the OD will stop painting numbers real time until it knows the trend has changed or not. If the numbers are not printing, it's reasonable to assume you're in chop or a trend change. Okay, so we don't really utilize the oscillation detector for chop or chop trading, but when you see it stop, you know, like it says, it's reasonable to assume you're in chop. It can very much help you determine chop. It can very much help you determine some trends. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so it's not intended to, nor does it help much in reading chop, but it's helpful for seeing power plays 1, 2, and 3. And the reason it stops printing in chop like that directionally is so there's no repainting. Okay, the alerts can be turned on or off for double tops to give a heads up. The price will go off once it's in a double top zone. Remember, it's not having to get to the tick of the double top or bottom. It's within a zone, all right, which is great because, you know, right here, for example, okay, if it didn't say double top until it got to the tick, it might be a little too late. But if you're getting it right in here, it gives you a heads up, right? Now, let me ask a question. What do you think was happening on oscillation detector right in here live? What do you think you probably got right in here? Because you're watching these numbers live. Like, you can see them live. You don't have to wait till the bar closes. The numbers paint live. What do you think you got right in here? An alert saying double top. What color do you think the numbers were right here for a little bit as it's getting into this zone? They were yellow. They were yellow. Double top alert. Yellow. And then out here, it passed the double top, so the numbers were no longer yellow. Does that make sense? Like, you can look back on a chart and see the double tops, but you'll also get double top alerts as it's approaching that zone, and then if it passes it, they're no longer yellow, right? Okay. So the colors of the numbers on the indicator have meaning, okay? A gold color number means the price is inside the zone deemed double top or double bottom. The indicator is defaulted to print a blue number when the price makes a higher high or lower low than it previously did. Remember on the other chart, they were blue, but they're white on a C's chart, just so you can see them easier. Okay, so we know what the yellow numbers are, right? Okay, so what are the white numbers? When the price makes a higher high or a lower low, they're white, right? So let's just look here. Did the price make a higher high here? Did the price make a higher high here? See, they're white numbers. That makes sense? Okay. A gray number is the default. Well, it's black on C's. That is printed when the number is just a number. I mean, it's not a higher price being hit, but instead the price makes a lower high or a higher low. Okay, that can be a little confusing. Read over it and read on your chart here. Is this a low Yes, but it was higher than this one. Is this a low? Yes, but it's higher than this one, so they're black. Okay? That just, you don't have to dig too deep into that and get all crazy about that, but it's just showing you higher highs and higher lows. And what does that tell you? In general, when the market makes a higher high and higher lows, the market is trending up in general, right? Okay, let's look at the opposite. White means a what? Lower low or a higher high. In this case, a lower low. Okay, market pulls up, make a high. Right here, it pulls up, makes a high, but it's a what? A lower high. So the market is what? Trending down. Right? Okay. Dennis, the yellow numbers will print after the reverse candle closes. No, the yellow numbers will print live while it's forming. Okay? Like if you're watching this live and it's coming down in here, like you can see these numbers print. Okay? Like you see this one live right here. I mean, like you can see the numbers printing, and when it gets into that zone, though, you'll get an audio alert and that yellow number will be there. The bar does not have to close for that number to turn yellow, and the bar does not have to close for you to get an audio alert. What has to happen is basically in the background, okay, of the indicator, there's an algorithm that basically, in a nutshell, basically in the background, imagine there's an algorithm that looks like that. And when the market live gets into that double top or double bottom zone, right? Boom, that audio alert goes off, that number turns to yellow, heads up, it's in the double top zone. And if the market keeps going and breaks that zone, and it's making a higher high, it will no longer be yellow, right? Yeah, exactly. Chip, you got it. Yep, if it breaks that zone or goes the other way or whatever, it'll go back to white or black, okay? So everything is printing live. The only time it will not print live is, and it has to wait on a close, is when it's in chop, okay? And it's not getting its 2-bar direction, okay, or like a coil chop. It's going to wait till it breaks out of that. Does that make sense, Dinesh? Does that answer your question? Yeah, you don't have to wait for the close. It does that live. Okay? So, just real quick here, I think you've already all got this, but you see that the dots and the lines, or the lines are drawn to show you where it's measuring from. And those aren't big, huge, thick lines. We don't want them in your way. We don't want it being a, distraction, but you want to be able to see where it's measuring from. Okay? Yeah, Ivan, actually, you're asking that right now. Does the line have a purpose other than indicating where the OD measures to and from? It seems the main focus is on the numbers. Exactly, Ivan. You said it before I said it. Guys, the line means nothing to you as far as determining any type of, volume or trade or color of a line. The lines are white. They're just in there to mark for you, hey, this number that you're seeing is measured from here to here. That's why we have them real small, not in your way. Okay? Like the line's just showing you where this number is measured from. Yeah, exactly, Chuck. Does that make sense, Ivan? Okay? And so what do we see right here? We've got the yellow number as a double bottom. We've got a white number as a higher high. The market comes back up here. We've got a yellow number. It's a double top. The black is a higher low. Make sense? Easy enough? Okay? Okay. Now, numbers can make it easier to read sometimes. How does this apply for power plays? Well, we talked a little about that, but let's check out some of Lori's screenshots here. Lori put this all together here and put the form together for us. So sometimes the numbers just make it more clear. So the market's coming down, pulls up, comes down, pulls up, down, pulls up. Are we in an uptrend here? Is the market choppy? Or are we in a downtrend? We're in a downtrend. Market pulls down, pulls up. And we can see it's got a nice little pull up here. And did it pull up enough for price action to hit the last pull up? No. But when we look down here at VAD, it's like, well, did VAD really, was there a lot more volume in there compared to these last couple? Like, you ever seen that? Where it's like, okay, it's real easy to compare this VAD to this VAD. Or, you know, that VAD to that VAD. But have you guys seen that sometimes where like VAD is so small on those last couple where you're like, let me stretch my chart out and, you guys seen that? Where VAD is so small, it's kind of hard to really read. Okay. Well, what did numbers tell you? They're close, but 923 on this 3-bar pullback compared to 1330. Okay, that helps. Does that help you? When you're kind of like, well, okay, big enough difference. I'm going to take that down for a quick scalp. Does that make sense? As in possible ways to use the oscillation detector in conjunction with VAD, especially when it's just not quite clear on VAD, and those numbers kind of make it a little more clear. Okay. Karen, how does it help you sit through an elevator to let you know it's not a reversal? It doesn't help you to sit through an elevator. Okay. The oscillation detector is not going to help you sit through an elevator to know if it's a reversal or an elevator until that second bar closes, whether the second bar closes up or if it closes back down to be an elevator. Okay. VAD can be useful for that. Okay. When you see, hey, this market's going down, this up close bar had so little VAD, right? There wasn't, you know, or hey, that one had a lot of VAD, or order prints is helpful for that of, hey, there was a big push up there. I like that. Like, I like that they really like to pull it up and they couldn't, we're going back down. But oscillation detector is not going to help you with that. Okay. Let's see here. All right, so that makes sense. Everybody see that there? Okay. Jeff, 923 measured what, please? It measured exactly what it shows you it measured, right here. That's the lines that we just talked about. From here to here, from the low to the high. From here, it measured from this high to this low. From here, it measured from this low to this high. Oscillation detector measures from the low to the high, as to where VAD measures the bar and bar close. Okay, does that make sense? Yes, Matt, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just the number of contracts. That's the volume. Okay, so does that make sense why VAD can put the volume one direction and oscillation detector can put it another direction if there's a lot of volume, say, in this wick right here, right? Okay, let's take a look here at, I'm just trying to look through some questions here. Yeah, Dinesh, you might have missed it there. Looks like the best trade. Yeah, Jeff, that would have been, yep. Nice little double top there too, right? Joshua, those numbers are giving a lot of clarity. Awesome. Yeah, Josh, you know what? Check this example out though. Guys, this is going to be the light bulb right here. All right. I've showed you some cool examples. You guys are already like, oh, I love that. That really helps. Okay, I can see that. Check out this one. Okay. Juan says, is it better to wait for a double top or bottom instead of taking the first trade? No, Juan, always follow the rules. Always follow the power play rules, okay? The double top and bottom alerts just are helpful to sometimes give you a little earlier alert that there might be a power play trade, okay? So let me clarify and make sure everybody understands this oscillation detector does not in any way, shape, or form change the power play rules or the power play setups, okay? It's just a different version of looking at volume than what VAD is. But it's still the same rules of needing more volume or less volume. It's just a different way of measuring volume and giving you a different way to see the market. But in no way changes the rules or supersedes any other rules. It's just another way of looking at it. And because of that double top and double bottom zone, you can get an audio alert heads up sometimes earlier than you would get with the clusters. That makes sense, Juan? Everybody understand that? This is not changing power play rules in any way or adding to it. It's just a different way to see volume. And it's basically just letting you see the volume. The biggest thing it does with giving you the different look is it's letting you see the volume in the whole trend without accounting for elevators, right? Okay, like see right here, market comes down, elevator, elevator, down, elevator, down, and see VAD goes green, white, green, white, green, white, white, green, white, as to where oscillation detector gives you one number, okay? It's just a different measurement, okay? Chip says, I'd like confluence between VAD and OD, but in cases where it isn't, can I use in place of VAD to meet the rules? Yep, Chip, what you want is you would like to see that there is confluence between the two of them, okay? When there's not confluence, remember we talked about this, when they're not matching, you want to look at why. And if you can look at why they're not matching and see that, hey, the reason they're not matching is just because of the elevators. That makes sense, right? So remember, like, here's the example we talked about earlier. Okay, well, I see this last push down in VAD as smaller VAD from here to here, right? But oscillators show me that the overall trend was bigger. They don't match. But I can understand why, right, Chip? The reason they don't match is because all these elevators reset VAD. So they don't match, but can I clearly see why they don't match? Yes, because they're both doing their job. Oscillation detectors giving me the whole trend without the elevators. VAD's showing me the elevators. So this is showing me that this last push down was on less volume, although overall there was more. Okay, so what do I do with that? Okay, but then the market pops up and then it pushes down here. Clearly less volume on OD and clearly less volume on VAD. Matches, go. Right? Okay. Jeff says, can VAD A be reprogrammed to not count one bar elevators, or would that interfere with some good HD setups? Jeff, VAD A, messing with VAD A would totally mess up a lot of trade setups. Okay. But if you be on with us next week, I might even cover it later this week. We have more than one VAD. I just haven't taught it to you. You guys ever wondered, what is VAD E down here? And how come it takes longer to flip, but it stays that color while VAD A, right? VAD A is each bar. Each bar. If there's one up close bar, you get an up VAD. It reads volume a certain way. Okay. Some of our other versions of VAD are longer term algorithms that help you see the overall trend. Okay. Stick around. We're going to be doing some training on a new VAD trading system called VAD 2.0. Okay. All right. This right here, guys, is going to open your eyes to everything. Sometimes a trend is broken up by elevators. We just talked about that, right? Which restart the trend count. It can be hard to tell if you're really getting a good count on volume. That's where the oscillation detector clears up the picture for you. Pay close attention to this, guys, right here. The oscillation detector showed the second leg all as one trend. What do we have here? We have the market came up. I really want you to see this, guys. Hold your questions till after this screenshot, okay? Like, focus on this. This will be a light bulb. Market comes up, market comes down. Market comes up, market comes down. Market comes up. Is this a number 4 tight chop market here? No. Is this a super uptrend? Is this a super downtrend? Or is this a range bound or slightly trending market? It's a range bound or slightly trending market. So what are the 2 power play trades we're looking for in this type of market? Right, a 1 or a 2. Okay? So the market came up right here, made a high, right? Everybody see that? Market came down, market pulled up here. It did not get as high, did it? For a number 1, what do we want? For a number 1 setup, we want it to go higher on less volume, right? But this didn't go higher. It went lower, right? It did not go as high. So we're looking at a potential number 2 setup, correct? Does everybody agree with that? This is not a number 1 because it didn't go higher. It went up, but not quite as high. So it's only a number 2 potential setup. But what did VAD do? VAD was a lot, and then VAD was a little. What are the rules for a number 2? It has to have more volume, but not go up as high. Correct? So using VAD, was that a number 2 setup, yes or no? Who can tell me? For a number 2 setup, it cannot go as high, but it has to have more volume. And did it have more volume? No. See a lot of VAD right here, and then less VAD. So you would not have taken that trade on VAD, would you? But look at the trend, the overall push. If this 1 bar elevator had not been here, see how VAD was building? Build, 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 got way up there. And then you had more VAD, build, build, build. If you took out that 1 bar and you saw the whole push, what do the numbers tell you? This whole push from here to here was 11,000. This little bit smaller push from here to here was how much? 14,000. So in this case, VAD and oscillation detector do not agree, do they? But can you clearly see why they don't agree? And why do they not agree? Because of this 1 bar elevator. But can you look at the overall picture and say, I get why they don't agree, but I also get from this low to this high was 11,000 contracts. From this low to this high, which didn't even make it as high, was 14,000. there was more volume, a decent amount of more volume in this push up, and it still couldn't get up there. So I do look at that as a valid P2 trade now. Does that make sense right there? Lindsay says, ah. Chris says, that's great. Thanks a million. So do you see here where we're not changing any rules? It's the same rule, but it's a different way to look at it. Because what are we trying to look for here in a power play 1 and 2? We're trying to look at the market. What is the market doing? Is it at a level? Is there the clusters? Is there the chop? Is there the difference of divergence in volume? Right? That's what you as a trader want to know. I want to know for a power play 2, is there the first push? And did that second push really try hard to go further and even try with more volume and it just couldn't do it? Forget it, we're exhausted, let's go down. That's what we want to know, right? We don't want to know, did the market adhere to the Apex Investing VAD-A indicator? We don't try to get the market to match our indicators, right? We use our different indicators to read what's going on in the market. Remember how I've talked to you about there's ABCs and there's 1, 2, 3s. And yes, our initial thing we taught you with VAD was this is what you're looking for because it tells you that volume. Okay? But there's also a, hey, we're not trying to make the market fit around an apex indicator. You don't ever do that. You don't make the market fit around an indicator. You want to get a view of what is going on. And so these different measurements of volume let you see that. And that is what you're looking for. That is called thinking outside of the box. Does that make sense, guys? To where you can't get so 1, 2, 3 about it of, well, that VAD-A is less, so I'm not going to take that trade. When you know darn well it's because of that one indicator, but you see that the overall push was 3,000 more contracts and it still couldn't even get as high, that's a P2. Does that make sense? Yeah, Chip gives you a better, more informed picture. Walters says, wow, that really simplifies analysis. Marion, it can't be any clearer than that example. Exactly. Okay? Right. Yep. Yeah, John, exactly. Okay, so Kent says, so do we take a P2 with the OD instead of the VAD? So we should try and discern better with OD. Well, Kent, it's not that one is better than the other. Okay, it's just giving you different views. Like I said, and we're going to talk some more about this Thursday. We're going to dig into these questions and give some examples more on Thursday because I want you to have a couple days to have this on your chart and play with it. What you want to look at is, hey, I love when they're matching. That just gives me double confirmation. When they're not matching, can I see why? Can I clearly say, okay, the reason they're giving me a different reading is because of that 1 bar elevator. In this particular case, OD gives me the picture that I'm wanting to see. Okay? If there's times where, hey, I can't see why they're different, it's not due to elevators, well, then normally your difference comes in right here on this wick bar because there's a ton of volume in here that's being calculated into OD as opposed to into VAD. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Jeff says, hey, looks like OD can keep you out of some iffy VAD trades. Absolutely. It helps you see a lot more. Okay? Dinesh, how an indicator will print yellow 14K without second candle forming? You said it needs 2 candles downside. No, it needs 2 bars to change the direction. Okay? And right here, there were never 2 bars, Dinesh, going down in this trend. So it's still counting this as an uptrend, as an uptrend, as an uptrend. And right here, okay, it went yellow telling you, hey, it's approaching this double top, and it's showing you what that current volume is. Okay. Now, when this bar closed down, you're still seeing that number there, but then it down here after the second bar closed down and this one started forming, then you're seeing the numbers going this way. Watch it live and you'll kind of see. Okay. Does that make sense, Dinesh? Okay, because this 14 is not measuring this. Okay, it's measuring this from here to here. Okay. Evar says OD is Bay. Nice. Jeff, there were 2 bars between 14 and 19. Oh, Jeff, you mean you don't see a number right here? Is that what you're talking about, Jeff? Right here in this area? Is that where you're talking about, Jeff? Or right here? Well, like I said, it has to do 2 bars and then go a little bit further to lock it in. It's not just 2 bars. It's normally like 2 bars and then a little bit past 2 bars to lock that in. But that didn't hit far enough for the algorithm to place it there, and it kept going up. Okay, remember I talked about earlier where we say 2 bars, but sometimes it's got to go down a certain amount past. Like a lot of indicators are like, well, has to reach this level plus certain ticks or plus whatever. You know what I mean? So, are all bottoms and tops marked? Yep, Eugene, they're all marked, and they're marked. You can see them in the lines here too, exactly where everything measures from. Okay, up and down. Okay, fitting into the algorithm of the 2 bars plus. Okay, John says equal high and equal lows are not power plays. Well, John, what you'll notice here. I think I understand what your question is a power play 1 has to go further. A power play 2 has to go less. What you're asking about is when they get tick for tick to the same exact level, right? Is that what your question is there, John? When it's not more or when it's not less? It's to the tick, okay? Tick for tick is not a power play, right? Now, there are some other trades that we'll talk about later this week or next week. I don't remember when it is. I have to look on the calendar here. That you could potentially take when they're tick to tick, okay? But when they're tick to tick, that is just a double top zone and does not qualify as a power play. Okay, but keep in mind the double top, I think you're asking a question in general. Okay, like you understand that this number does not have to turn, you understand the market doesn't have to be at the exact tick for this to turn yellow, right? You understand how it's a little bit of a zone above and beyond. Okay, I don't think that's what you're asking. I think you're just asking in general, what do you do when the market goes tick for tick, where it's not technically a number 1 or a number 2? Was that your question, John? Your question wasn't necessarily about the OD. It was, yeah, in general. Okay, yeah. That tick to tick does not count as a power play, okay? But we are going to get into on another webinar here some ways you could potentially trade it, because you do see those every once in a while, don't you? Okay, they're not a ton of them, but you do see them, okay? And we're going to get into that, okay? Yeah, Anthony says, wow, reading the OD numbers are so much better than trying to compare sizes of similar VAD bars. Yeah, when they're super small and you can't really tell on the VAD, like that little bit and that little bit, those numbers just make it very clear. And again, those double tops and double top audio alerts, just super cool. So, okay, guys, like I said, this is going to be just a very basic training of Here's what it is. Here's how to use it. Here's how you can get it on your chart. Here's the template. Okay. I want you guys to play with it for a couple days, get used to it for a couple days, get some questions. Thursday, we're going to dig in just a little bit more and do a short kind of advanced training on it where we'll go over a few more examples of when they don't agree and how you can use it. But do you guys see how helpful this can be for you in multiple ways? Not just the heads up, the early potential heads up on double tops and bottoms, but like I said, this example right here, that's the one that just should make it so clear for you of when they're different and you can understand why. You see what's really going on in the market, and it can help you with some extra trades that you might not have taken, or it can help you stay out of a couple trades. Okay, just like this potential example we talked about over here, where that looks like less volume down, but you see it was a lot more, and you wait right here where they both confirm, and you're great. See that? So play with it a little bit over the next couple days, and we will do some advanced training on Thursday. Okay, and we'll take a look at some of the room charts as well. All right, and guys, to keep in mind what's going on with the webinar calendar. There's a ton of stuff coming at you. We got some webinars tomorrow. You know, we're getting past the Labor Day weekend here. The markets can sometimes, take a day or two to level out after a long holiday weekend, and then we're really looking for things to start beefing up here for the fall trading. And so be ready for it. Make sure to review any of the training courses, any of the webinars. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about some in the morning, or 1 o'clock. I've got a webinar I'm going to do for you guys that are Nadex binary traders. Talk to you about some extra entries or different types of binaries that you can take with power plays. In the afternoon, we'll talk a little bit about transitioning from live to demo. I know a lot of you guys are, hey, the first couple weeks open house, I've demoed this. I'm really getting a handle on this. We've got about 10 days left in open house. I'm ready to switch over to live, to start making some live money. I want to make enough to get my, memberships paid for the next 30 days. And we're just going to talk a little bit about how to do that, some things to make sure of to help you with that transition. And then we've got a bunch more webinars later this week as well. Okay. And you guys have been going so crazy in the elite room about this mentor program. You are just blowing me away here. And y'all are in there and making it very clear who's interested and who wants to be on the list. We've got a ton of people. And so keep that up. Be in the elite room tomorrow. Be on the webinars and play with the oscillation detector. We'll go over it some more. And Matt, thank you. Matt says, love the indicator. Great that Apex never quits innovating. Guys, I hope you've seen that we don't just give you something and there it is. We're always adding. We're always, coming out with new stuff, changing things, developing things. We've got full-time programmers. You also have to keep in mind that, for open house, we really made you come in with a laser focus on our best system, which is power plays. We actually have a bunch of other systems. We actually have a bunch of other indicators that we haven't even really shown you yet. I mean, just really what I went through right there. I mean, I don't know how many of you, and I don't want to distract you. Don't spend your time on this. Stay focused through the rest of open house. But, just down here under S6 indicators, there's quite a few of these you guys have never even seen, or you've never even really heard about, or you've never really even looked at, because they're not part of the power play system, and we've got a bunch of other stuff to offer here, but we wanted you to be able to make the most of open house and focus and learn one system and get to trading it. Okay. All right, guys, thanks so much. Pop it on your chart, start using it tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow for some more webinars, and we'll talk again Thursday about some advanced training for the oscillation detector. All right, guys, thank you. Have a great one.